Thanks for joining us this week on the show. You are here just in time to enjoy a wonderful, inspiring interview with my guest, Isabelle Daikeler. She is a healer, a therapist. She is a woman who has grown through her own experiences of healing and recovery, and now shares her powerful insights through her work. I know you're going to get so much out of our conversation about resilience in children, the value of authenticity, and other important insights to support you in your own healing journey, wherever you may be along that path. Thanks for joining us this week. It's time to flip the script on stress and learn how to thrive today and throughout your days. Join me for inspiration and interviews with folks who are shining their light in the world in the areas of positive mindset, health, and well-being. I'm your host, Susi Vine. Let's get happified. Welcome back. I am so happy to have you with us today on the show for a conversation that I am thrilled to dive into with my guest. Isabelle Daikeler is a visionary holistic wellness expert committed to guiding people toward inner alignment and spiritual healing. Her innovative work features the Harmonic Egg, a revolutionary modality that employs sound and light therapy to restore balance and cultivate lasting calm. Inspired by her own journey of awakening and personal transformation, Isabelle empowers you to access inner wisdom and lasting health. Isabelle, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me, my dear. I'm happy to be here.
And in our brief conversation before we started recording to share the interview, I have the feeling that you, like myself, have had a varied, a wide, and perhaps wandering journey that has led you to the place where you are. So if it's possible to kind of distill that, how did you acquire this passion that you have to help people find this balance?
Okay. My family is in the film industry, acting, musician, writing, managing, all that stuff. So I was expected to do that. And that imprinting of being expected to do that was so strong that it was hard for me to see anything else I could do. It was wonderful. There was a lot of great experiences, a lot of learning experiences, but definitely not my thing. It was not fulfilling at all. So soon after I landed in LA to film, I started realizing that it was not my thing. Now you have to leave the nest and you have to start being on your own to really start investigating what it is that you want, that you like, that you are. And then sport and athleticism was always in my life. I love taking off and running, hiking, exercising was just like something I didn't know was a part of my makeup. And so that was always parallel to what I was doing, acting, working as a personal trainer, rehab specialist, sport nutritionist, sports psychology. Loved it, really found myself in it. Became quite strong physically and enjoyed working with people a lot, especially communication, which I didn't pick up at the time, but really connecting with individuals was the real joy in it all. But within a short time, a few years, I ended up having health challenges that nobody had answers to, exhaustion, like fogginess, so bad that eventually I couldn't really walk just because of pure exhaustion. Went from doctors to doctors to doctors. Was told that I was depressed, as I always say. Yes, I was depressed because all these doctors cost me a lot of money. Nobody had an answer. I was losing all my clients. I had to borrow money constantly to pay my bills. Very frightening. And I ended up extremely depressed, scared, and somehow guided to Koreatown. I don't remember how I got there, but got there, met these incredible ladies at markets who did the whole tongue out, the eyes, the tapping, the pulse, all that stuff, Chinese medicine, TCM, that I was totally unaware of. And actually, I don't even know if they were real practitioners, but it was definitely part of how they were raised, and they were very well versed in it, and just gave me baskets full of herbs and root vegetables and adaptogen mushrooms and herbs, which I was totally unaware of at the time. Told me how to cook it. And within 3 or 4 months of cooking these disgusting elixirs that really were gross, but were extraordinary, I started feeling better and better and better. So that became a huge part of my arsenal. That became part of what I did with clients. I would try to make very rudimentary shakes. So that was way before all those shakes were in the market. Try to make them taste good for my clients. It was not easy to cover the bitterness, right? All of these strong elements don't taste good together. But I realized it was helping everybody. So I went deep in reading about it all. And I think, not so consciously, but I think that was the beginning of me really understanding the relation between food, my body, and my emotional state. Because we still didn't really know what was going on with me. But now we know that, uh, especially to TCM, all these elements, your emotional, psychological alignment, meaning it's coherent, it's congruent, really affects your body and vice versa. So that was the beginning of that somehow. And then that went on. And then I had a huge car crash. Actually, I had many car accidents, but that was a car crash. And again, for several years, walking was very difficult. I was limping, and I was told that I was going to limp for the rest of my life, which was so not okay because my identification was to my strength and my physical health and well-being. And so I went from rehabilitation center to experts, after experts. They got me to a certain point, but I couldn't do what I used to do. So then I went and did a deep dive on all that stuff to rehabilitate myself. So again, the connection of the body and my well-being was emphasized once again. And that took me a little while, but I got back on my feet. People saw that. So people came to me to get help, how to get back on their feet. And again, through that, the importance of communication, talking their own emotions, their own fears through whatever they were going through physically. So a bit more connected on that again. And then cut to decades later, I am now pregnant and I gave birth 17 years ago. And after the birth, within a few months, I again could not walk for about 10 to 12 years. Could, in the house carefully and sometimes not at all. And that was incredibly painful. You have this concept of what kind of mother you're going to be, what kind of wife, and also like I said, my identification to my body as a strong person, very independent. All that was on the floor with me. And that's when the beginning of my awakening unfolded. And that was, like I said, a decade plus of learning, connecting to my own guidance, that little voice that's so wise, right? That little voice became much stronger. That little voice became my partner. I never felt completely alone. Somehow that connection that was done to this situation really awakened that aspect of myself. And so that was another addition to my arsenal. I'm still processing all that unfolded and all that I've learned being on the floor for 10 to 12 years and learning. If you see, there's a theme to what was happening to me. I couldn't walk. I couldn't move forward. I couldn't be solid on my feet, right? Over and over again. And I'm still moving through that, actually. I'm standing strong on my own 2 feet. That wisdom now was my companion as well, and really sustained me through a decade of great pain, constant chronic pain, acute pain, and extreme emotional vulnerability. Everything that I thought I was collapsed. I was turned inside out. And now I had to look at the real cause of my lack of emotional and psychological and spiritual forward movement or vertical movement, if you want to look at it, right? So that's, in a nutshell, what I went through that led me to what I do now, where instead of the body leading me first, even though it's still very present, people often come with their emotions and their psychological connection to their emotions and their pain. And the body is connected to that. But now I don't see the separation, right? Now it's all one big thing. It's like this, it's woven into each other. So I don't first talk about the body. I don't know how to talk about your physical pain without some kind of awareness of everything else with it, because we're all that and then some. So that's what I do now with different tools, and that's how I got there.
Oh, what an extraordinary story. That's really remarkable. And before we hopped on the air, I was talking about how life serves up lessons. And sometimes we like to fast forward through the learning and say, okay, I got the memo. Let me get back to business as usual. And it sounds like every kind of big lesson that served up, it took you even deeper into the process of recognizing, of looking within, of getting curious and tuning into that inner wisdom, that higher self that kept you company, that was with you through that process, walking with you even when you weren't able to
Yeah.
walk.
Yes, big time. Yeah. I look back and I realize it's a miracle that I was not deeply depressed. Like I did get, yeah, so scared. And there are moments where I learned true surrender. This is the first time in that particular episode where I found myself on the floor looking up. I had never really prayed. And I never viscerally walked through what it is to really surrender, to really say, I don't know how to do this. That's it. I'm done. Like help me, right? A true call for help where you just, your mind and your how to, what you've learned is not getting you anywhere. And it's very frightening. And the self-reliance is gone. And that's how I learned surrender, what surrender is. And it is not easy. I'm a tough student. And this, when I say I had many car accidents, I had 7, and then plus a car crash. I've not learned the easy way. But it did give me great compassion and understanding of a lot of how we do not make the decisions that will ease our way forward. I've done that. I've done that. Oh yeah, I've done that too. Different iteration, but I've done it. So that was my school. And the point, I think, my dear, is can I now learn through another teacher than pain? Can I learn with less shame and less guilt? Can I be more honest? My space is called authenticity because the common denominator of all that is, can I acknowledge all that I am with all that I call not good, dark, shadow, all that? Can I embrace, can I take it all and be okay, be enough with it all? That I don't have to now continue finding ways to hide the aspect that I'm not okay with. And I think what I'm moving through with my clients is that we're all that. It's a big mess, but it's beautiful. And there is some sort of organization in it. And somehow you get there, some sooner than later. But by there, I don't mean perfection or that's it. Now life is a breeze. You get to a place where you're forgiven, you're okay with who you are, and you understand that life will bring challenges and that the fastest way to move through it is to feel the emotions, be at peace with the situation. And by peace, I don't mean you're a master and you smile and all is well, right? Although you could get there. I mean, you're able to not, let's say, to be very linear, to not need to go to alcohol or gambling or lying or work or sex or food or scrolling online constantly, right? Like many of us do now, all these attempts to not be present to what is happening in your life. That's what I mean by getting there, where
Mhm.
you prove to yourself that you can withstand that pain and then move through it in a way that the lessons will be clear and the clarity of it all will come to you faster and the integration of it will be easier. And therefore, your response will be such that it will start to change your path, how you move forward in your life. It transforms your future by becoming very present in the now, as we all hear now, right? And so, yeah, that's where it led me.
And I think it's fascinating in your story, in your own experience. What strikes me is that your identification as a strong, fit, athletic person was where your lesson kept coming back to you. And by removing that identity, you were forced to sit with and make space for the other faces of yourself, the other facets of yourself that perhaps you didn't put as much appreciation for, you didn't value as much your wisdom, your intellect, your emotions, what they might be telling you, until without your physical health, those were finally the point at which, by working through them, you were
Yeah.
ultimately able to regain your physical strength again.
Yeah. And it happened over and over again. That shows you how stubborn I was.
As we
Hello.
are with these big lessons. No, no, I've got it. But can I get back to doing what I was doing? Because I was fine.
You can't fake anything. You know, you can lie all you want. Life will just mirror yourself constantly. I feel like I've been wrung or pulled inside that like a t-shirt, right? That's what I feel has happened and still happening. Yeah.
Right. We don't get to graduate until the big graduation. The lessons keep on showing up for us.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of having a child, like having a son who's 17 now, is the number one thing. I didn't realize I was doing that, but the number one thing that I now see was important for me to convey is honesty. Don't lie. Even if you're dying to, even if it seems like it's the easier road and no harm done, the harm is all to
Mhm.
you. So don't lie. And I'm watching him be quite honest, more spontaneously, more organically, because that was something that was imprinted early on. So that's the beauty of being a child, is it just reflects like you understand, I was saying on another podcast, you understand the trajectory of a human being on earth with a child because you are now the parent and you are watching how you can't help but imprint some of the stuff that's in you, right? And you're watching it. And again, the best I could do was to be honest about it all, to have conversations, to not hide anything, not pretend anything. Of course, at the level that they are, but constantly making them aware, oh, that's my stuff, right? Look at mama, that's
Mhm.
my stuff. So that's one of the best way I would say to stop that transference.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you were saying about what a core feature of your practice now is authenticity, and how this lesson is so important for all of us to learn and to continue learning. And I think with him growing up with this model of you going through this process of you being brought down to your knees and then finding your way back, he was able to witness that you put your well-being first, that you were willing to try new things, to be open, to have the beginner's mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's so helpful. I really believe that our younger generations are witness to some of the most important lessons because they have this wisdom that they see us as we grow in our emotional awareness and vocabulary, and it's becoming available to them so much younger. I'm
Yeah.
so excited to see how this is going to bear fruit, how these generations won't have tolerance for inauthenticity, for dishonesty. They're really demanding more of us, which I think is
They are.
exciting and challenging for parents at the same time.
Yeah. And, you know, I was thinking of just now what you said, and I thought, oof, oppositional forces are going on. Yes, there's a growth. Like in my days, the love and light was very present. I was not that immersed into any of that, but I was vegan and a bunch of things was floating around me. And that escapism into love and light was very present back in those days. And I think it still is now, but there's also this countercurrent now of authenticity, of truth. As you were talking, I was thinking, yes, and we have these tools. We have social media. We have a world where aging is not okay, right? We are surrounded by women that are 60 looking 25 forever. We have these devices that makes you, what's it called? Filters, right? We
Yes.
have AI now that fixes you, and we have influencers. Um, and perfection is very much in our faces. Perfection to a degree where even a 20-year-old is now doing things to herself. Oh my God, at 20, oh, please enjoy that youth of yours, right? Don't worry about all this. But they are inundated. It's a big business and they are inundated. We all are. And I think it's affecting male and female relationships. And so the countercurrent of discussing and talking about it, that awareness we're discussing is very important because yes, they have that and have greater awareness, and yet they're confronted with great superficiality to a degree that I didn't have in my childhood. And these machines, the state of addiction is available to them at 5, right? Parents that are unaware give their children these devices very early on. It helps us escape ourselves, and we teach them to escape themselves very young age. But again, the greater the challenge, the greater the movement forward. And by forward, I actually mean the movement inward of like all these words I don't want to use anymore because they're so overused. But the greater the appreciation of the soul aspect of who you are and the great opposition between you're supposed to be that, hopefully will throw you back like a whiplash into yourself and we'll find more balance sooner than later. But yes, what a crazy dilemma, all that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that because we live in very polarized times. As much as there is a demand for honesty and authenticity, it's almost you have to work to take the filters off to go online now. They're so part of every operating system. And it has been fascinating to watch. Likewise, I'm so grateful that I did not grow up with any social
Yeah.
media without even email, right? I feel like we've come a long way, baby. Certainly not digital natives. And look at us now, adopting it and using it to our benefit and recognizing how we have to work against falling into those traps. And it is extra work for our younger generations who are growing up with it.
Discernment is very important because at the same time, these tools made them, I had to go to the library. I had to know about something, go to the library, look for it. You know, the information was not so available. So now they can, I remember when I first discovered Krishnamurti and I had to go to a place called the Bodhi Tree, which is unfortunately out of business. It was just a beautiful little place, like a bookstore slash you could have tea, you could put a DVD on and watch certain things. The information, I only had so many books that I would have access to. Now I can watch and watch, and there's so much that I can have access to. So they have access to everything. So that's crazy. And discernment and understanding that comes with, a trickster energy is a big deal, right? It's right. What a ride. I'm watching my son and oh my God. Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all that we have now, and I'm grateful I was not born in it. But then I'm sure you could look at what was happening in my days, and there's always stuff. But it's a trip right now.
There is always stuff. And I know that one of the things that you are passionate about is fostering resilience in our youth and helping them to have that strength to step up to whatever is going to come along. I mean,
Yeah.
look at what we could not imagine 40 years ago that now is ubiquitous. And so how do you share that? I'm sure with your clients, many of them have children. I don't know if you
Yes.
work directly with younger
Yes.
clients yourself. How do you encourage them to strengthen this skill? Because resilience is so essential.
Well, we've talked about one way, which is an important way, which is being honest and fostering communication, which then is real intimacy, which is real trust, real sense of safety. So communication at that level is important, and you can really be safe if you allow it with your child. They love you, right? They need you, they love you. And having a child, it's the closest to God's love that many of us will experience. So it's safe to be exposed. Now, again, of course, you have to have discernment. You don't speak to a 2-year-old the way you would speak to a 17-year-old, right? I'm assuming we all are aware of that. But don't pretend that you're not upset if you're upset, right? Don't create confusion in their little hearts. So you be honest with your own emotions if you can. Or if you don't know what you're feeling, but you see that there's been a reaction toward your child, you're very welcome to see, I don't know what's going on, honey. I'm a big messy ball of emotions right now. It has nothing to do with you. I'm just moving through that and maybe a little impatience. Just this honesty of communication. Like you don't have to know it all. You don't have to pretend that you know it all, but you are modeling honesty and you're modeling it's okay to be connected to your emotions. It's okay not to know. And it's not scary. And you're strong enough to live those emotions. And then the follow through is important as well. So what I found myself to do is funny because at the time, I didn't read any books. There are beautiful teachers nowadays. There's a woman, beautiful green eyes. I forgot. I think she's Indian. She's very well known to help this authenticity with the children. I wish I could give her credit, but I was like, oh, that's what I was tapping into, what she's talking about. But it came naturally, where I think my deep desire for truth and honesty, having lived and not being truthful, not being honest, and having lived the ramification of that as well. And as I discussed, having lived not being connected to my body and what the world had to mirror back at me to force me to step in it. I think it was organic with my child to get honest so they could witness what it's like to be okay with who you are, you being honest, and also the follow through. I was about to say the follow through, which is, remember when mom was a little messy and stuff? I figured it out. I was just a little stressed about. Now, of course, you don't have to, you don't have to throw them into a world that they're not ready to hear, but there's a way to say things just enough that they're like, oh, mom fight away. She got it. Like, she figured it out and following through with it. So all the things that you want, right? All the things we say we want from a partner, doing the best you can to be that and being aware of that subconscious leader, right? We all know now that the subconscious can really lead most of our action on a conscious level. So your child is really this crazy teacher if you allow it, and being honest. So that's a big part of what I don't want to say teach, but the conversation that I start with people that come see me, if they want, right? Everybody comes with what they're ready for and what they want and their expectation, and you have to honor that. Some people will come just with the egg for a very long time. It will take a while for their central nervous system to just feel safe and okay and start discussing what's going on, and then I can be more pointy with the treatment. So with a child, watching their parents honor that is a big deal. It separates, it's her stuff, it's not my stuff. And it gives them permission to then feel and not have to emulate hiding my emotions, right? One pattern could be, I'm loved only if I'm a good boy or good girl, and I'm not difficult to deal with. So there's many, many patterns, but if you start emulating that you're okay exposing yourself as a full-fledged human being with your child, with your children, then you're teaching them to do the same. They don't, as we know now, they don't listen to what you're saying, really. They're just picking up. I use the word imprinting a lot because it's so prevalent, so true. They'll imprint and they'll do whatever is necessary to survive the environment, to be loved and wanted, because it's important to their own survival, right? They need us to survive and grow up. So there's all that stuff that's happening and making them feel, oh, that's such a big one, right? I love you with all of it. You're so enough. You're so lovable. I don't need you to be in any other way than exactly what you are. And that's huge. That's everything. Because then they don't go out in the world and try to prove that they're lovable and use all these unconscious tools to try to get that love. Because that's what it is to know that you're lovable. It doesn't mean you think you're perfect. I'm not teaching narcissism. It's about, no, I'm so lovable. I'm so okay from the get-go. So if you can establish that base, and you can start that anytime, it's never too late. And so that's one of the big way that we touch base on all these. I don't know what word to say. I don't feel like I'm teaching. I think I want to allow a space that is safe to be and expose these wounds and hopefully get to a sense of truthfulness with yourself and forgive yourself, and tools that are there to calm your central nervous system so you can, it's almost like deep meditation, right? Where you can move away just a little, from a different state and look at the situation and allow the healing to unfold.
And I think in acknowledging, as you did, that children of different ages and different maturities can hold different levels of information, but I think at any age, a child can understand this emotion that I'm feeling right now has nothing to do with you. There's other things going on, and I love you. I'm not angry with you. I'm not disappointed in you. I'm feeling big emotions right now, and I can explain it later if it's appropriate and supportive for your child to come back to it. And I love that follow through to help them close the loop. Oh, I figured out what I was irritated about. I was a little cranky with you because this was going on and that stress was flowing into our conversation, right? Because it's such an important model for them to recognize, as you said, that big emotions are okay and they don't need to be avoided and they don't need to be ignored, and we don't need to be happy in order to be loved. Such important lessons to grow up with, as you said, because then we don't adopt these coping mechanisms, these different masks and facades that we think we need to present in the world to be loved.
Yes, yes. And also in the same topic, they end up, as they get older, they end up keeping you honest. And what happens is that as they evolve, you can start teaching them also what thoughts will make that emotional discomfort bigger and what thoughts will calm you down. So you can also dial up, right? I remember telling my son, where does it hurt, honey? And he'd be like, oh, right here. And then he would cry, and then he would babble about whatever was going on. And I would say to him, what part of that is the thing that really hurts you? Like, what part of all the things you told me, what's the thing that really hurts you? And so it would slowly step away from what the people did and more the interpretation of what happened. I didn't call it that, but I just wanted to know, what is it about that hurts you, right? I didn't realize I was starting to separate a little bit, like distance the thoughts associated to the emotions, which now we are much more, we understand, right? I'm thinking of Byron Katie, who is this incredible woman that asked the question, is that true? When you have a thought process, is that true? She really opens you up to what the ego can tell you is true. So again, I was not privy of her wisdom at the time, but that what was happening. So now I find myself sometimes having my own stuff, and my son will say, that's a huge reaction for something that why did you react so big? Then I'll be a little defensive, and then he'll just genuinely ask, because he was raised like that, it doesn't come from the ego place. It's what he knows. It's what he knows to do. So he asks back, and I can tell some people can get insulted by it, but he doesn't know. That's very familiar to him, that whole trigger thing. So he'll see it quite clearly. There's a trigger there. It doesn't call it that, but there's a trigger there. That's not really, your reaction doesn't match what's happening. What's going on, Mom? So it's a ping pong game now in a good way. You keep each other honest. And hopefully we could do that with our friends and our coworkers and our partners, of course. And not everybody wants to play with you, but you don't need it. You don't need others. This is something that is deeply personal.
I love that. And I love that reflection as
Yeah.
he has grown. And it is just his natural part of processing and curiosity.
Yes.
That's really beautiful. And you mentioned briefly, I don't want to go too far without learning a little bit more about the process or what you've created, the harmonic egg, and how that helps us to calm the nervous system. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, I love the harmonic egg. So it's literally an egg. It's huge. And it's called sacred geometry. There's angles all throughout the egg, which will move the light and the sound 365-degree through and through you. There's a really comfortable chair. So you walk in. Mine is in a yurt on the property. So the property is on top of a mountain. It's literally nestled into nature. I wanted that nurturing. I wanted that quietness. I wanted the space itself to be part of the treatment. I don't know if
Yes.
that's the right word. That I wanted them to drive up and start having a feeling of right away. So the nature is so part of the environment there. And then when you come for an egg session, it's this big egg, huge, and there's a big comfortable chair in the middle that reclines all the way to zero gravity, which is very soothing to the body if you want, but it's whatever level you're comfortable. There's a big sort of diffuse moon, like a light on the top and the same at the bottom, which together will reflect a third light everywhere in the egg. There's a beautiful high quality sound system. There's no EMF. It's literally just light and sound. I'm particularly very sensitive to EMF. So it's a tool that I was very grateful to have, which is very basic technology. So very safe for babies, pregnancy, sick people, all that stuff. I know that I can help everyone. And so you will be in the egg. We will have decided ahead of time the lights that we use, which are really associated to your chakras and really your organs as well, right? We all know that there are certain emotions that are associated with certain organs. At least most of us, a lot of us know that. I shouldn't say we all know. It's my world, so I'm aware of it. But really, there's fear and anger, shame, guilt, love, joy, peace. Like they all travel and settle in different area of your system through and through, really. But you can hone in a little bit on certain organs to help the association with certain emotions. So you have these lights, and then we, through a conversation, decided on a specific song. Those songs are created for the egg and they're layered. And those songs are there to, again, really give your central nervous system reset. So instead of the fight or flight, I always say most of us are in a state of fighting imaginary monsters on top of the true stressors, but also all the things that are here. So those melodies are there to really calm you down and bring you to a rest and digest state, where now it's almost as if you've been an expert at meditation. You can get quiet and your body is now available for healing. And also that experience can happen inside the egg. It lasts about 39, 40 minutes. Then you stay there for an extra 10 minutes of quiet to process the experience. And then you're cooked, ready to get out of the egg.
And then you're cooked. It's beautiful. And I really embrace, as I hear people saying, and I see more research becoming available, that the future of healing is in sound.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, the energy that moves through sound waves. And when we're guided by intuition and informed by Chinese medicine and bringing chakras and the energy of different organs into our systems, and just the intention of healing is so powerful. And so to create this beautiful, nurturing space where we can step out of that external energetic influence and completely hit reset, it just sounds divine, really.
Yeah,
It sounds extraordinary.
It really is. It's quite amazing, again, because of the way we think, the more complex, the better. But it's quite amazing how just music and light can create what it creates. And Gail, the creator, designed something quite wonderful that hone in that medicine for you very well, cocoon in that egg.
Beautiful. I feel like you and I could go on for hours. Our time together went very quickly. Please, for folks who are listening, share the best way for them to connect with you. And we will, of course, have links in show notes so people can follow through and learn more about you and your work. And if they want to come and visit those magical mountains of Malibu near Santa Monica and perhaps book a session.
It's authenticitystressless.com. I have the website where all the information is there for you to go through. We do also distance sessions. So of course you can do a healing session at a distance, but you can also do the egg at a distance. So the information is there, authenticitystressless.com. And I am on Instagram and on Facebook. So it's pretty simple.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful exploration. I hope that folks take inspiration from your wisdom and your experience in raising a child after your life lessons, to value that honesty and authenticity, to see how that becomes such an integral part of character. I think it's what we need more of in the world. So thank you for doing what you do and shining your light. I'm so grateful to be connected.
Thank you for allowing me to be here and express myself. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take good care. Thanks for listening. You'll find all the resources we discussed today online at happifiedlife.com, along with links to subscribe to Happified on your favorite player and a handy search tool so you can search all of our previous episodes. Help us grow by leaving a quick review and share this episode with a friend. Until next time, keep on shining.